Hello, my loves. Hello, beautiful people. Horoscopes are so popular nowadays. Horoscopes can tell you the signs that you're compatible with, what your day-to-day life is going to look like, what your 5-year life will look like. You know, they tell so much about you. They let a person know who you are. But I have a question. Can your horoscope and when you were born tell what mental disorders or what type of obstacles are you going to face in life that are likely to stay with you? So obviously, me being me, I typed up a couple things on Google, checked around the search engine studies to see, is it possible? So I looked it up. We're going to go over some key facts. Key fact number 1. We have to know our primal triad. Primal triad is essentially 3 signs: your sun sign, moon sign, and your ascendant or rising sign. For the sun is essentially your normal everyday sign, the one that basically everyone knows about their self just when they are born. That means if you're a Libra, if you're a Taurus, if you're a Leo, you know, that sort of thing. The sun sign represents what are your core values, who you are as a person, how you move, based solely upon what matters to you the most. But then when you move over to your next sign, which is the moon sign, your moon sign is like your emotions, how you're feeling, how you take things in, your sensitivity. This is your soul. And then the last one, your ascendant sign. This is how other people perceive you, the mask that you put on to the outside world. Based upon the 3, the primal triad, it helps the chart determine kind of your likes, dislikes, what you are like in certain situations, which are going to be really, really important when we are trying to figure out how you're going to respond to certain things, what's going to be traumatic to you, what are you more susceptible to as you navigate through life. Now there are 10 planets, and these 10 planets are really important because these 10 planets interact with each other and it helps determine how are we going to be, what is our makeup. Think of the planets like a brain or the body itself and how they have to work together in order to function appropriately. And based upon how they interact with each other is how you respond. So for planets, I want you to keep in mind that there's also the moon, the sun, Canoe, and Rahu that also are encompassed in those planets. All right, so here's where it actually gets dicey and we start getting some answers that we're looking for. The moon, Jupiter, and Mercury are the 3 main planets that talk about the mind and that are correlated with feelings, how we respond to things. So we're going to hit on those 3 things to see what are we most susceptible to depending on what these 3 things are doing with each other when we are born. Now discussing the moon is really not that surprising. As we talked about before in our primal triad, the moon is our emotions. That's how we take things in, how we internalize them, process them, and move forward. So the moon is very important when we are thinking about how we are susceptible to certain things and how we receive them, how they stick with us. Now Mercury's planet is our logic, our rationale, our reasoning, how we process things, how we think about things, which obviously is important when you are talking about things that you are internalizing within yourself, because if you're not processing them the right way, if we are not where we need to be, it's going to be detrimental. And then we have good old Jupiter. Jupiter represents wisdom and maturity. And I know all of you guys know if you are not ready to process something, if you are not mature enough to receive the feedback of the things that are shown in front of you, we might as well be lost in the abyss. We not getting what we're supposed to get. And if we're not getting that, we're not moving forward. So all of these planets, they represent wisdom, rationale, and emotions, which are the 3 main things for us to process information, go through what we're going through, and be able to come out unscathed, essentially. So these 3 are crucial. Now, if you look at the birth chart, it is comprised of 12 domains in a counterclockwise rotation. Each domain represents a certain thing, as you can see by the diagram, but we are going to focus specifically on the 1st house, the 6th house, and the 12th house. Now, I will say there is a controversy that the 5th house as well is important when it comes down to mental health, but for the sake of this video, we're just going to talk about the 1st house, the 6th house, and the 12th house, and how the planets interact interact with each other in those houses determines, allegedly, how we are going to respond to things and what sticks to us and what we're most susceptible for when it comes to mental health. Now, I hope at this point that you understand how strong the moon actually is, because if it is affected or afflicted in just the right manner, you have the possibility to have mental abnormalities or any type of neuropsychotic disorders. This is to occur if you are suffering in the 6th, 8th, or 12th house. 6th being where your health, wellness, routines, illnesses, work, or pets is affected. Your 8th house, debt, death, taxes, couples money, inheritance, or psyche. The 12th house, retreat, escape, hidden, release, and unconsciousness. Which makes sense, right? If you are unable to escape or retreat from the pressures of life, it is very hard to be able to cope appropriately and not exhibit negative responses to the things around you, the things that you could possibly be susceptible to, the things that can drown you. That makes complete sense. In the 6th house, it also makes sense. If you do not take care of your mental health, your physical health is also likely to wither away with it. They are heavily correlated with each other. Now, if you're specifically questioning what inflicts what to make what, that's what we're going to go over. So specifically, the moon. If the moon is affected by the sun, it can make a person quarrelsome. It can make them self-critical. If the moon is affected by Mars, it can make a person very violent, very aggressive towards other people. If the moon is affected by Saturn, it can result in acute depression or mania. If the moon is affected by the planet Rahu, you can experience schizophrenia, suicidal ideation, and even particular phobias. You can experience irrational behavior and suicidal tendencies if the moon and Ketu are really conflicted with one another. And then if the moon is affected with Mercury, you can experience depression, isolation, and suicidal tendencies. So as you can tell, the moon is very important. If the moon is affected in a negative manner, there's so many things that you have the possibility to combat. But I get it. At this point, you guys are saying, okay, we know the moon is important, but what about the other planets? Mercury is known for speech disorders, which makes sense because we had talked about before with Mercury, it symbolizes logic, reasoning, communication. So if it is negatively afflicted, it is very likely that you are to have some sort of speech impediment or struggles there. Now they say this is likely to happen if Mercury is in a state of weakness or retrograde. If you guys don't know what retrograde is, it's essentially when astrologers look up into the sky and they say, these planets look like they're moving backwards rather than forwards. It is said from people who study astrology that if we are in a period of retrograde, you do not make any commitments, you do not do anything that is life-changing, because if you do so, it is likely to go wrong because the universe is not moving in the way that it should move and things are likely to go backwards rather than forwards. So research says that if Mercury is in a weakened state in the 5th house, that you are likely to have some sort of insanity, mental problems, or poor reflex action. And then we have our last one, Jupiter. Jupiter's planet is actually a mixed bag because Jupiter gives some positive qualities, but they can also give negative qualities if it is affected or in the retrograde state. For Jupiter, it says that it can be influenced if it's in the 6th, 8th, or 12th house. This can lead to unnatural behaviors, psychological or neural disorders, and phobias. Now guys, I do want to stress while I was doing this research, it was very important to know that planets are not all bad. So the planets that I listed, even though they have negative effects, there are certain positive elements to them, things that protect us. It is not a bad thing sometimes to be reserved or take extra precaution just because of how the planets have lined up and made you. So I don't want you guys to take it as some planets are just terrible compared to others, because they're not. It's all in how they interact with each other. Now, I know that was a lot of information, and personally, when I sit down and read it myself, it is very hard to convey what means what for what in what domain. So to make it easier on yourself, go in my bio. I'm going to put a link for you to look up your birth chart. All you have to know is your birth date, your time, and the location and where you were born. And it will pull up your birth chart itself and tell you how they interact with each other. And it will tell tell you the trajectory of the planets, where they were at that place in that time, and how it is reproduced to you as a person. And you put down in the comments below if it was accurate. I looked up mine, I looked up my husband's, I looked up my daughter's, and I was blown away. And this is not like a 2-page document. It's like 5 pages telling you about yourself, which is insane. It gives you the words to put who you are, which I thought was amazing. So guys, I hope that you liked this video. It was very fun to film. Let me know down in the comments below about your birth chart, some of the things that you are likely to be susceptible of, and I am excited to read them. So I hope that you guys like this video. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. I will see you in my next one. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.